We picked the better child, my family bragged. After dumping me at 12, now they're broke and that better child is mopping bathroom floors. Hey Reddit, I, 21 male, Jacob, was always the extra kid my parents kept around until they figured out where else to stick me. My sister was the golden child, and I was basically the family's spare part. Years later, she comes at me with a ridiculous request. My parents jump in, and things take a very entertaining turn. Let's just say I got the last laugh, and it may or may not have involved a mop, a blue uniform, and me trying not to pass out from laughing. From the start, it was obvious who was the star of the show. My twin sister, Madison, 21 female. Blonde hair, green eyes, dimples, all that angel child stuff people gush over. Every time someone met us, it was, oh, she's gorgeous, followed by, and that's her brother. Like I was her chauffeur or something. My parents, Steve and Sydney, ate it up. If Madison so much as burped politely, she was graceful. If I did anything, lazy, unmotivated, a problem. And I'm not exaggerating. One year for Christmas, she got an iPad and I got socks. Not nice socks. Clearance socks. 2 sizes too small. They loved pointing out that I was darker skinned than Madison. She got mom's light skin and dad's light eyes. I got me. Guess which one fit better into their family photo aesthetic? Spoiler. Not the kid who got told to stand in the back so the lighting doesn't wash out your sister's face. Growing up, I became the designated errand boy. If they needed someone to clean the garage, me. Madison's turn to do dishes? No, she had homework, so I did them. Family trips? Oh, I was invited, but only to carry luggage and take pictures of everyone else having fun. The thing that still makes my eye twitch? I was never allowed in certain family pictures. They'd literally do 2 versions, one with Madison front and center, one with just her. My version didn't exist. Now, the day they officially decided they were done with me was almost comical. I was 12. Madison was 12. We both had a school recital coming up. I didn't want to wear the itchy, too tight suit mom picked out for me. I told her it was uncomfortable and asked if I could wear something else. Something that fit. That's it. That's the crime. I didn't want to look like I was going to court for tax fraud. Mom had a full meltdown. Dad backed her up saying I was ungrateful and embarrassing the family. Next thing I know, they're saying, you know what? Maybe it's better if you go live with Uncle Rick and Aunt Karen for a while. A while turned into forever. Here's the part that makes it worse. They didn't hide the reason. A week later, I overheard my mom on the phone saying, we decided to keep the better child. That's me they're talking about. Or rather, not me. Uncle Rick and Aunt Karen, Dad's brother and his wife, were stunned. They weren't rich, but they were decent human beings. When they picked me up, they told me I'd have my own room, my own space, and that I wouldn't be treated like baggage. My parents barely said goodbye. Madison waved at me from the porch like I was going on a school trip. The last thing my mom said? Don't cause them as much trouble as you caused us. That was it. No hug, no, we'll miss you. Just a final jab to remember them by. The first night with Uncle Rick and Aunt Karen, I realized how different life could be. They actually asked if I was hungry. They didn't compare me to Madison once. They didn't care what I wore as long as it was clean. They treated me like I was part of the family, which was honestly weird at first because I wasn't used to it. But the messed up part? Even though I was gone, my parents still found ways to remind me I was the reject. They'd send me cards on Madison's birthday with pictures of her all grown up, while casually leaving out any mention of me. My favorite was the time they mailed me a family photo where they'd cropped me out. You could still see my hand on Madison's shoulder. Classy. I used to think maybe it was me. Maybe I was the problem kid. But living with Rick and Karen showed me it wasn't. Turns out, if you treat a kid like they matter, they actually act like they matter. So yeah, that's how I became the spare twin. No dramatic courtroom custody battles. No tragic accidents. Just 2 parents deciding one kid looked better on their Christmas cards than the other. And honestly, it was the best thing they could have done for me. Because while Madison was busy being groomed as the golden child, I got out. I got to live with people who didn't care how I looked in photos. And one day, I was going to make sure that decision, their choice to dump me, was the thing that came back to bite them hardest. So I figured moving with Uncle Rick and Aunt Karen would be the end of it. They tossed me out, so why would they care what I did? Yeah, turns out my parents weren't the let it go type. They were the throw something in the trash and then complain the trash doesn't send them thank you notes type. The first weird move they pulled came that Christmas. Rick brings in a stack of mail, hands me a card with my name on it. I open it up, and it's a glossy photo of my parents and Madison in matching sweaters, holding a golden retriever I'd never seen before. Big letters on the front, Merry Christmas from our perfect family. My name wasn't even printed inside, just a Sharpie note. You'd look better in this picture if you tried harder. Merry freaking Christmas. Then they got creative. On my 14th birthday, a box shows up. Inside, a single cupcake. No frosting, no note. Just a candle jammed in the middle. And I knew instantly, this wasn't them remembering my birthday. It was their way of saying, you're not worth an actual cake. Another time, a padded envelope showed up with a gift inside. My old participation ribbon from 3rd grade, burnt on the edges. I guess they thought that would really stick it to me. This stuff wasn't for me. It was for them. They weren't trying to reconnect. They weren't even trying to hurt me in a way that made sense. They just wanted to make sure I never forgot I was the discarded one. It was about spite, nothing else. The weirdest part? The harassment was organized. I'd get something from Madison, then a week later something from Mom, then something from Dad. Like they had a harassment schedule on the fridge. One even mailed me a flash drive. I plugged it in, huge mistake, and it was a slideshow of Madison's accomplishments. School awards, vacation photos, her holding trophies, all set to this corny, inspirational music. I couldn't even get through it without laughing. By 15, it went physical. Twice they showed up. First time, I come home from school, Rick standing on the porch holding a big framed photo. My parents had just left it there. It was their updated family portrait, just the 3 of them and the dog. In the frame behind the glass, taped in the corner, was a tiny baby photo of me, with a red X drawn through it. Second time, I'm walking home, see a car parked near the corner. Madison's leaning out the window holding a giant sign that says, "Need money? Ask your real family." Couple kids from school were behind me. They saw the whole thing. Madison waved like she was at a parade. I didn't even react, just kept walking. I think me not caring pissed her off more than anything. The last straw came a few months later. A package shows up. Big box, heavy. I open it and find a shoebox inside, filled with dirt and trash. On top of the dirt, a note that read, "This is all you'll ever be worth to us." Rick nearly called the cops. I told him not to bother. I didn't want them to think they'd gotten a reaction. But in my head, I decided something important. I wasn't just going to cut them off. I was going to keep receipts. Every insult, every petty stunt, all stored away for the day I'd finally use them. By then, even Rick and Karen were saying, they're not going to stop unless you cut every line of contact. So I did. New number, privacy lock on school records, mail forwarded to a P.O. box. For about a year, things were quiet. No cards, no packages, no parade stunts. I almost thought they'd finally moved on. But here's what I've learned about people like my parents and Madison. They don't reach out because they miss you. They reach out because they want something. And when that something showed up years later, it came with a phone call from Madison herself, acting like we were best friends. I knew it was bad news before I even picked up. I'd changed my number years ago after the dirt in a box stunt, so she must have sweet-talked a cousin or guilt-tripped some relative into giving it to her. First off, her name showing up on my phone was like seeing IRS Audit Department pop up in your caller ID. You're not getting good news. Second, I hadn't heard from her in years. The last time she'd contacted me, she was holding that giant "Need money? Ask your real family" sign out of a car window. So yeah, I wasn't exactly expecting a heart-to-heart, but curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to see what angle she was working this time. I answer. Her voice is syrupy sweet, fake cheerful, like you know the way the Kardashians talk? Yeah, that tone. Hey, it's been forever. How are you? I play along. Let me guess. This call ends with you asking for money? She laughs like I'm joking. Oh, stop. Seriously, though. I've been thinking about you. We should catch up. Which is Madison speak for. I want something. I just didn't know what it was yet. We do the awkward dance for about 2 minutes. Her talking about her busy life, me giving short answers. Then she goes in for the kill. So, I heard Uncle Rick got some money from Grandma and Grandpa? Bingo. I keep my tone flat. Yeah, they left a trust in my name that Rick managed. He just transferred it to me a few months ago, so it's mine. Well, I just thought, since we're twins and all, it would make sense to split it. I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. Split my inheritance? That's cute. She didn't laugh back. I'm serious, Jacob. We're family. Family shares. I could feel my jaw tightening. Funny, you didn't want to share when I was eating dinner alone in the kitchen, so you could sit at the good table. God, you're so dramatic, she says, instantly shifting into that tone she used as a kid, the one that made everything I said sound like I was crazy. This is about doing the right thing. I need this money for college. Oh, I said. You mean the college you could have paid for with the fund Mom and Dad set up? The one Mom told Rick about before I heard from a cousin you blew it on handbags and a trip to Italy silence. That hit. Then she snaps back. That was different. I was living my life. You've had it easy with Rick and Karen. You don't need all that money. The audacity actually made me laugh again. Let me get this straight. You waste your own college fund, and now you think you're entitled to mine. Because I had the easy life with the people who actually wanted me? You're being selfish, she says. If the roles were reversed, I'd help you. Oh yeah? I said. That's funny. Because when I asked to borrow your graphing calculator in high school, you told me to buy my own. But now I'm supposed to fund your entire future? Her voice goes from sweet to sharp. If you're not going to do the right thing, maybe Mom and Dad should talk to you. I smirked. Go for it. Haven't talked to them in a while. Should be fun. Click. She hangs up. 48 hours later, my phone starts blowing up. First it's my mother, then my father, then some aunt I don't even remember meeting. All with the same script. It's your duty to help your sister. You wouldn't even have the life you do without us. Without them. The same people who dumped me at their brother's house like I was a broken toaster. One voicemail from my dad actually said, "You're still my son, so I have a right to ask this of you." Which was hilarious. Because the only time he's ever used the word son with me is when he's trying to guilt trip me. One even sent me a link to a GoFundMe Madison made titled, "Help me get to college. My brother won't help." The description was pure gold. My twin brother was given a huge sum of money, but refuses to share with me, even though he knows how important my education is. He's had it easy his whole life while I've struggled. Struggled. The girls' struggle involved an all-inclusive resort in the Maldives last summer. The best part? The GoFundMe had a picture of her standing next to a BMW. Her BMW. At this point, I wasn't mad. I was impressed. Madison's entitlement wasn't just normal golden child energy, it was Olympic level. The confidence it takes to blow your own money, beg for someone else's, and still act like you are the victim? That's a skill. Rick and Karen were ready to call her themselves and shut it down, but I told them to hold off. Something in me had shifted during that phone call. I'd spent years cutting them off to avoid their chaos. Now, I kind of wanted to lean into it. Not because I was going to give them a dime, because I realized Madison had just given me the perfect setup. Here she was, openly lying about why she needed the money. Here my parents were, backing her up like the loyal little enablers they've always been. And here I was, with the receipts, literal and digital, proving she was full of it. So instead of blocking their calls, I started answering them, letting them rant, acting like I was thinking it over. I saved every bit of it. Screenshots, voicemails, the GoFundMe link. I even had a mutual friend send me screenshots of her bragging about her Italy shopping spree and Maldives getaway in a private group chat. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about making sure they all got exactly what they deserved. That night, Madison texted me one last time before going quiet. One way or another, I'm getting what I deserve. I smiled at my phone. Yeah, I thought. You will, just not the way you think. See, the thing about people like Madison and my parents, they don't know when to quit. If you let them think they're wearing you down, they'll just keep talking. And the more they talk, the more ammo they give you. So I decided not to block them. I decided to invite the chaos in, just long enough to get everything I needed. The next morning, Madison called again. I could tell she'd been rehearsing her reasonable voice. Jacob, I want us to work this out. I'm not asking for all of it, just enough to cover tuition. Uh-huh. How much is enough? I asked, already knowing the number was going to be insane. She didn't disappoint. 50,000, but that's just the base. There's also books, housing, and personal wellness, I cut in. Silence. Then, how do you know about that? I'm psychic, I said. She huffed and changed the subject, but I could hear the panic in her voice. That told me she knew she'd already said too much somewhere, and she was wondering where I'd heard it. Meanwhile, my parents were running their own campaign. My mom tried the "I'm just concerned" angle. Madison is under a lot of stress, Jacob. You've always been the strong one. You can handle life without this money, but she can't. Be the bigger person. Translation. You're not the golden child, so your life is supposed to be harder. I knew I had to keep them talking, so I started asking questions. So, if I were to help, what would the money be used for exactly? I'd make it sound like I was considering it, then sit back and let them dig themselves deeper. They sent me spreadsheets. Actual spreadsheets. Madison had made a college budget file, complete with color coding. Tuition and books were maybe 20% of it. The rest? A $7,000 wardrobe refresh, $3,500 for networking events, red, parties, and $9,800 for transportation upgrade, which was code for a new car. I forwarded the file to myself from 3 different email accounts. I wasn't losing that gem. About a week into this, I got a text from a mutual friend, one of those people who likes to stay neutral, but also enjoys a little drama. She sent me screenshots from Madison's private Instagram, posts of her at high-end boutiques, selfies with captions like, "Manifesting my dream car," and no one can tell me I can't live the life I deserve. Gold. Pure gold. I started to see the bigger picture. Madison thought this was going to be a quick guilt trip and a payday. My parents thought they could pressure me like they always did when I was a kid. None of them realized they were handing me enough material to nuke their credibility in one shot. But timing was everything. You don't just dump all the ammo at once. You wait until they've gone so far that when you drop it, it's not just satisfying, it's irreversible. So I kept feeding them just enough hope to keep them talking. I mean, maybe I could help with part of it. I'll think about it. Let me see how much I can spare after my own expenses. Every time I said something like that, Madison's texts got friendlier. My mom started sending me thinking of you messages. My dad even asked about my job like he cared. It was fake, all of it, but it was perfect. Then Madison made her first big mistake. She sent me a picture of a luxury handbag she'd just bought, saying it was an investment piece for interviews. The tag was still on it, $1,200. And the kicker? She sent it while also texting me about how broke she was and how she didn't even have money for textbooks. I didn't respond. I just saved it. 2 days later, she made her second mistake. She posted on Instagram about a weekend trip she was taking with friends to relax before the semester starts. The location? A 5-star resort. The caption? Self-care is essential to success. I didn't respond to that either. Saved it. By now I had screenshots of her shopping sprees, proof she blew her original college fund, the ridiculous college budget file, her parents, my parents in name only, openly backing her entitled nonsense in texts and voicemails. All I needed was one more thing, a clear sign they weren't going to stop unless they were publicly embarrassed. It came in the form of a group message. Madison added me, my parents, and about 6 other relatives into a chat titled Family Support. She opened with, "I'm reaching out so everyone can hear how Jacob refuses to help his twin sister with her future, even though he's sitting on more than enough to change her life." My mom chimed in with, "We're just asking for fairness. He's been blessed and should share." That was it, the perfect setup. They'd taken it public within the family. They'd drawn their line, and they had no idea that I'd been standing on the other side with a match and a gallon of gasoline. I decided then and there, when I lit this up, I wasn't just going to shut them down, I was going to make sure they couldn't spin it later. No misunderstandings. No, that's not what we meant. Just their words, their actions, and their entitlement in full display. And once it was out there, there'd be no coming back from it. They wanted to make it public? Fine. I was going to make it permanent. I took a deep breath, opened the family support group chat, and started typing like I was about to submit a final paper I knew was going to get an A. First message, okay, since we're talking openly in front of everyone now, let's make sure we all have the same information. Here's Madison's full college budget request. Then I attached the spreadsheet she'd sent me. You could practically hear the group chat pause for a collective double take. Next message, you'll notice that only 20% of this is actually for college. The rest is $7,000 for clothes, $9,800 for a transportation upgrade, and my personal favorite, $5,000 for personal wellness, which, judging by her receipts, means facials, yoga retreats, and maybe a subscription to some influencer's lifestyle course. Then I dropped the handbag picture with the $1,200 tag still on it. This was purchased yesterday. Not sure how this fits into struggling student territory, but hey, maybe it's a textbook holder. Silence in the chat for a second. Then my mom jumps in. That's not the point, Jacob. The point is that you've been blessed. I cut her off with the Instagram screenshots of Madison at the 5-star resort. And here's a little self-care trip from last weekend. Must be exhausting to balance college applications and poolside memos? Oh wait, I'm not supposed to mention the drinks, my bad. The chat starts blowing up. A couple of cousins leave the group immediately. One aunt sends the eyes emoji. My dad tries damage control. Jacob, this is unnecessary. We're family. So I went for the throat. I attached the proof from my mutual friend showing Madison bragging in a private group chat about how she'd already burned through her original college fund on Italy and the Maldives. along with her exact words, "It's fine. I'll just get Jacob to pay for the rest. He owes me anyway." I captioned it. "So just to confirm, I owe you because our parents dumped me on Rick and Karen when I was 12 so they could keep the better-looking one? I want to make sure I understand the logic." At this point, the group chat wasn't just awkward, it was nuclear fallout. My phone was buzzing like it was trying to escape the table. Relatives were DMing me separately saying they had no idea or always suspected something was off about Madison's stories. Madison finally replied in the group, "You're taking everything out of context. That wasn't what I meant." And I laughed out loud reading it. Out of context? She literally spelled it out in perfect context. So I hit them with the finisher. Here's the context. Madison, you're not getting a dime. Mom, Dad, you raised her to believe she's entitled to whatever she wants, and now you're shocked it's blowing up in your faces. You could have left me alone, but you came for me, and now you've got the whole family watching. This is the last time I respond to any of you. Goodbye. Then I left the group. It felt incredible, like walking away from a dumpster fire you didn't start, but sure as hell finished. But I wasn't done. I sent the same evidence, every screenshot, every file, every photo, to the other side of the family, the ones who hadn't been in the chat. I didn't want there to be any chance Madison or my parents could spin it into Jacob was being mean, or he's making it up. Nope. The receipts were bulletproof. Within 24 hours, Madison's GoFundMe had been deleted. Not because she'd reached her goal, because the comments were brutal. One relative even dropped the whole screenshot album in the comments, so anyone clicking the link got the full story before they could even read her pitch. People were posting links to the screenshots I'd shared, calling her a scammer. Someone even posted, "College fund?" More like vacation fund. Rick and Karen couldn't stop smiling for a week. Rick even made popcorn one night and said, "This is better than Netflix." The best part? Madison hates losing face. She could have quietly taken the L and moved on. Instead, she doubled down and tried telling some relatives the pictures were old or edited. But the timestamps and metadata in the screenshots killed that lie instantly. Every time she tried to wiggle out of it, someone else sent me her excuse, and I'd send them the proof that she was lying again. Her reputation in the family tanked faster than a bad crypto coin. Invitations to parties? Gone. The proud parent posts my mom used to make about her? Vanished. Even her friends started unfollowing her online. And me? I didn't even have to lift a finger after that first blast. The mess just kept spreading on its own. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about control. For the first time, they had none over me. They couldn't guilt me, couldn't twist the story, couldn't hide what they'd been doing for years. I'd turned their little public shaming stunt into a career-ending PR disaster, and all I had to do was hand them their own words back. I thought that was the end of it. But I underestimated just how desperate entitled people can get when the gravy train gets derailed. Because a few months later, when their money troubles started catching up to them, my parents showed up at my door. Not to yell, not to guilt trip, to beg. And man, that was the sweetest moment of all. Picture it. Saturday afternoon, I'm in sweatpants, halfway through a plate of leftover lasagna, watching some guy on TikTok explaining how to redesign a 1-meter room with only galvanized steel. Life is peaceful. Then, knock, knock, knock. Not the casual kind, not neighbor borrowing sugar knock. This was sharp, rapid, desperate. I peek out the window and nearly drop my fork. Mom and Dad, on my porch. For a second, I thought maybe they were delivering an apology basket. You know, one of those overpriced arrangements with fancy cheeses and maybe a little card saying, "Sorry for being trash, parents." But nope, they were standing there in clothes that looked like they'd been slept in, with faces like someone had just repossessed their souls. I opened the door halfway, because I'm not stupid. Wow, the better child busy today. So you decided to slum it? Dad tries for a chuckle. Jacob, come on, that's not necessary. Oh, it's necessary. I told them. So, what brings you here? Forgot my birthday again and wanted to make up for the last 20 years? Mom jumps in, clasping her hands like she's auditioning for a church choir. We've made mistakes. We know that. But we're still family, and family should... Stop right there, I cut her off. Because the last time I heard the word family from you, it was followed by you asking for money. And judging by your faces, this isn't a social call. They exchange a look, the kind where you know they were hoping to warm me up before hitting me with the real reason they drove here. Finally, Dad says it. We're in a bit of a tight spot. I lean on the doorframe. A tight spot? Did Madison buy too many personal wellness packages? Mom sighs, like she's the one who's been wronged. The house is, well, It's in foreclosure. We've had some debts pile up, and your sister. Right on cue, Madison walks up from the driveway. Designer sunglasses on, holding a coffee cup the size of her head. Hey, Jacob, she says, like she's greeting a waiter she's about to stiff on a tip. I grin. Well, if it isn't the star of the GoFundMe scammer documentary. What's up, sis? She ignores that. We're just here to talk. Things have been hard and you have the means to help us. There it was. Not even dressed up this time. Just straight to give me your money. I tilt my head. You're right, Madison. I do have the means. And I'm using them for me. Crazy concept, I know. Dad steps forward like he's trying to reclaim some fatherly authority he never earned. We're asking for a loan. Interest-free. Just enough to get back on our feet. I laugh. You guys have been on your feet for years. They've just been stomping on everyone else's toes. And now that you've tripped, you're looking for me to be your crutch? Mom tries the guilt trip next. We took you in when you were a baby. Correction, I interrupt. You gave me away to Rick and Karen because I didn't match the holiday photo aesthetic. Let's not rewrite history. Madison scoffs. God, you're so dramatic. It's just money. You act like we're asking for your kidney. Yeah, I say. But see, the difference is if you took my kidney, you'd probably sell it and then still come back asking for the other one. Dad's jaw tightens. We're giving you a chance to be the bigger person here. I smirk. I've been the bigger person since I was 12. You guys were just too busy polishing Madison's halo to notice. They're all standing there now, shifting uncomfortably, realizing the old tactics aren't working. So Mom drops the fake humility and goes straight to desperation. If we lose the house, we'll have nowhere to go. Bummer, I say. But on the bright side, it's a lot easier to take family portraits when you don't have to worry about furniture blocking the shot. Madison tries one last time. Please, Jacob. Just enough to get back on our feet. I swear I'll pay you back. I lock eyes with her. Oh, like you were going to pay back your original college fund? Or like you were going to pay for your own trips instead of making a GoFundMe to scam relatives? Forgive me if your track record doesn't inspire confidence. There's a long pause. Nobody's smiling anymore. Madison looks like she's ready to spit nails. Dad's face is red. Mom's eyes are glossy, but not from sadness, from rage that I'm not folding. So I finish it. Calm, steady, no yelling. You all made your choice a long time ago. You picked your favorite. You backed her even when she was wrong. And you decided I was disposable. Now you're standing here because you need something from the disposable one. So here's my answer. The same one you gave me my whole life. No. And with that, I shut the door. I stood there for a second, listening. Nothing. No knocking, no shouting. Just the sound of footsteps back to the car and the engine starting. I went back to my lasagna, and let me tell you, it tasted amazing. Life after shutting that door on them was quiet. Quiet in the best way possible. No surprise knocks. No guilt trip voicemails. No random family group chats trying to stage an intervention for my conscience. Just me, Rick, Karen, my plans, and the inheritance exactly where it belonged. In my account. I didn't gloat out loud about it. Not because I was the bigger person, just because the satisfaction didn't need an audience. I knew. That was enough. Until the universe decided to give me an encore. It was a Friday night. I was out with 2 friends at a decent mid-range steakhouse. The kind of place where the menus don't have pictures and the waiters act like they invented the specials. We just finished demolishing a plate of appetizers when I got up to hit the bathroom. As I walked down the hall past the kitchen entrance, I caught a glimpse of a mop handle sticking out of a yellow bucket. And then I saw her. Madison. Hair tied back in a bun that had lost the fight hours ago. Blue janitor uniform, rubber gloves, mopping the tile floor with all the enthusiasm of someone scrubbing graffiti off a gas station wall. I froze. Then, without even trying to stop it, I started laughing. Out loud. The kind of laugh you can't fake because it comes from pure disbelief and joy colliding in your chest. She looked up and instantly went pale. Oh my God, she muttered, trying to turn her face away. No, don't hide, I said, already pulling out my phone. Blue really suits you. Honestly, this is a better look than the Maldives bikini shots. Delete that, she snapped, pointing at my phone as I took the first picture. Click. She tried to step behind the mop bucket, but I sidestepped with her. Come on, sis, just one for the family album. We can put it next to the one where you held up the need money, ask your real family sign. Click, click. Her jaw clenched. Jacob, I swear to God. You swear a lot of things, I cut in. Like you'd pay back your college fund. Like you wouldn't waste money. Like you'd get what you deserved. Looks like you did. A couple of diners on their way to the bathroom slowed down, glancing at her, then at me. I gave them a little shrug and stage whispered, "We had a family reunion. She's in her work clothes." Madison's face flushed crimson. She muttered something I couldn't hear and practically sprinted through the swinging kitchen doors, abandoning the mop mid-haul. I stood there for a second, just grinning. Then I took one last picture of the lonely mop bucket and went back to my table like nothing had happened. Of course, I didn't just keep those pictures to myself. I sent them to my two closest cousins, the same ones who'd been in the family support chat when I dropped the receipts months ago. By the time I got home, one of them had already made a side-by-side meme. On the left, Madison posing in Italy with shopping bags. On the right, Madison in her blue janitor uniform, captioned, "Living the life she deserves." The next day, I woke up to a barrage of texts from her. "Delete those pictures now! You're obsessed with ruining me! I will sue you!" I replied with a thumbs-up emoji. That's it. A few hours later, Mom called. I didn't answer. Then Dad called. Same result. Then they tried from a block number, which went straight to voicemail. That one I saved without listening. I didn't need to hear the script. I already knew it was some variation of "you've gone too far" mixed with "we're still family." What they didn't get was that this wasn't going too far. This was exactly as far as I wanted to go. This wasn't about revenge for every single thing they'd done. It was about letting them live in the reality they'd built, and occasionally walking by to enjoy the view. Madison had spent her whole life convinced she'd always be on top, that someone, me, my parents, the family, whoever, would swoop in to save her no matter how badly she screwed up. Seeing her in that uniform, mopping floors, and knowing there wasn't a rescue coming, that was better than any apology she could have faked. When I left the restaurant that night, I walked past the kitchen doors again. Madison was back at her post, head down, avoiding eye contact. I didn't stop. Didn't say a word. Just let my laughter trail behind me like perfume. Because blue really does suit her.